Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at Huanyo's rank 4 in the world team actually, which is a very interesting team which I really like to play. This is going to be a team with Shadow Dragonair in the lead, which is a very cool, but you kinda, like, it's a little bit difficult to play. For example, here, we're going to have a lead of the Guzzlord. Guzzlord is an okay matchup for your own lead. You're going to be able to win the first shield here. But also, your backline would be really decent for it. But this team functions a little bit weird, and I'm not sure if I fully really realized how to play this team, but I played for an entire day, and I ran 15 and 10 with this team, so like I basically went 3-2 in every single set with this one. There were some games, I don't know if they're in there, I just randomly selected some, where I lost to like completely ridiculous, unlucky scenarios where Moonblast got a debuff, 10% chance, and literally lost me the game, stuff like this. So that kind of happened. I maybe didn't play everything correctly either, because I don't really know how to play this team from the beginning on, but I feel like this team is a really good to play in general if you want to grind Edo. I feel like this is a very consistent team. We're gonna talk a little bit about how to play this team right now. Interesting also to see here a Conkelda. This is highly like decent Edo at the point where I am playing those games, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, we're gonna see here right now a Conkelda that was directly after the community day, basically when I did the gameplay, but like the meta didn't really shift so far. So this is going to be an interesting team as you're going to try to basically win the lead with this. You have a perfect combination there in the back of Carbink plus the Medicham in the back, which basically is a perfect core. Like basically Medicham does not want to face something like a Sableye, something like flying type Pokemon, while Carbink completely destroys them. For example, here we're going to have in the back two Pokemon that are very strong against the Medicham, but both of them are very weak against the Carbink, so like we don't really care too much about it. We can just go ahead, and let those moves go through here, as our Carbink can just take everything. If you don't have a Carbink, you can also use the Bastion, by the way. But here we're going to be able to catch a move, catch the Weather Ball, and basically seal the deal, as they have no way of coming back. But basically, you kind of want to try to play out the lead and try not to say stop if possible. Here, for example, we have a great lead, so let's see what they're going to try to do. We might want to invest a shield as well, depending on what they're going to do here. I don't really have to invest one in the first one, because Frenzy Plant or Aerial Ace, both of them are kind of fine for me. But maybe this move does knock them out. I don't know about it right now. We will see. It does knock them out, so we're going to be fine. But now we can realign, and now we can align, for example, our Medicham against the opponent's Pokemon here. But also still have a Pokemon in the back for that one. We're gonna see what the opponent has. Also, we're running Dynamic Punch here, which is definitely a cool move to go for. It's a little bit tricky as his team is not that great against Medicham itself, so like it's not as bad either. Like your lead is kind of neutral, but you still lose against it. Calming is kind of okay if you have like energy, or if you like. It depends on the situation, to be fair. So like I'm not sure too much about like Medicham matchup with this team, but Dynamic Punch is definitely a really good move to go for in the current meta, allowing you to hit some Pokemon a little bit harder, but also a little bit faster. It's just a better move compared to Psychic at the current time, if you are in a scenario where you can use Dynamic Punch, because like Psychic gives you a little bit better coverage. Here we're going to encounter the same lead, which is kind of funny. We're going to have also basically the Dragonair against us. I'm going to decide to basically win the lead here by just not throwing a charge move and throwing a charge move later on. So I basically used a shield there, which I feel like is the way to go for this one. Because a lot of times you're going to have this Bastion in the back, and then like alignment is basically everything for this one. Here we're going to encounter the opponent's Deoxys, which is going to be okay for us, as we can just go for the Rock Slide. But it's fairly likely they're going to have some kind of Steel type in the back. So basically, if you encounter another Dragonair in the lead, I feel like it's the best play to do what I did here right now. I'm not sure. There was definitely another game where I encountered another Dragonair or something in the lead where I didn't do it. I don't know if it's in there though, and I don't know how it went, but like know that this is definitely, in my opinion, the better way to go for. The opponent goes for a charge move here. They're going to have the Ninetales in the back, and we're still going to have now our Carbink with a little bit of HP in the back, as well as we can go for a Dynamic Punch, which is going to put the opponent into a range where I can just farm them down and go for the Dynamic Punch later on. So let's see here, Weather Ball coming through. Gonna get my shield, of course, but I can just go for an Ice Punch. This is gonna get the knockout against the opponent, and our Medicham is going to be able to clean up this game. So let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to see here a lead that's fairly neutral for us. Like, Diggersby is kind of okay for us to deal with, so of course we're going to stay in here. We kind of always want to stay in when it's okay, but we're going to try to realign our Pokemon. Let's see if we can do this here. DGSB is gonna go ahead and go for a Scorching Sands. I think I could take one, but I didn't want to here at this point at least, but I can still go for an Awkward Tail. And I still should be able to just go, hopefully, for the knockout. I might still shield this move up because Dragonair is my squishiest Pokemon. Basically, it's the best I feel like to keep this around for that. I could have got more energy there, and I feel like it would have been a better play. If you face a Sableye that swaps in, I would actually stay in for a little bit and try to get more energy on your Dragonair, because at the end of the day, all the charge moves from the opponent is going to be resisted on the Carbink and does basically no damage. So here I think we wouldn't have needed to go for a charge move then, which would have been nice. So I kind of misplayed this game here in my opinion. The opponent's still going to be able to get rid of our Carbink. I'm not sure if this is going to hurt us too much. It depends on what they were going to run in the back, and it's going to be a Pelipper. And exactly this is like the case where I feel like I screwed up with this team because I didn't stay in long enough against the Sableye. If I stayed in there a little bit longer, I would have had more energy. I would have had a little bit of a different scenario. I would have had energy on my Carbink, which would have been able to get a shield from the opponents at DGSB. And like, this is the thing as well. Like, this is going to be a loss here, but I could have won this game if I had more knowledge about the team, if I didn't do rash decisions and swap out my Dragonair out of a matchup where I could still get some energy. And there's like some stuff which you can learn from. Like, not every loss is a bad loss for you. Like, if you know, basically if you get out of a loss and basically learn something for you, it's totally fine. Here's one issue for this team. It's going to be a Zoomerol, and Zoomerol is definitely tricky for you to deal with. You have to kind of hope that they are not running Hydro Pump. If they're not running Hydro Pump, Carbink is actually a Pokemon that can deal with it fairly well. And they are not running Hydro Pump here right now, which is very decent for me, so I can just go into this matchup. But again, Zoomerol is a very tricky one to deal with. Here we're still going to have a decent matchup, at least with Carbink now, because yeah, we're lucky that they're not running Hydro Pump, but Hydro Pump as Zoomerol is definitely the biggest threat of this team, maybe together with Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is also a little bit of a trickier one to deal with. But here we're going to be able to go for the full farm down against the Venusaur. We can still go ahead and go for some Rock Slides. Rock Slide going to get the opponent fairly low, and I decide to swap out because what could be the worst thing in the bag, and it's going to be a Dewgong, which I feel like is basically the worst thing in the bag. But we're still going to be able to go for a Body Slam, gonna get the shield, and I can even go for another one, which is not gonna get the shield, but gonna get the opponent low. And at this point, we can just try to go into our Medicham, try to get as much energy for later on against the Venusaur, but we have to be a little bit careful as well, because we're gonna get debuffed here. We need some more energy against the opponent's Venusaur anyway. We're gonna get some energy here at least, but we're gonna get another debuff, which is not really ideal. So the opponent decides to swap out here, which is of course smart. We're gonna be able to go for an Ice Punch eventually, but again, it's not really looking too good, but my opponent makes it a little bit easier for me as they decide to let this move go through. It doesn't knock them out, but it allows me to just swap out into my Carbink, reset the timer, or like reset the debuffs, and I can just even farm them all the way down just with my Carbink. Here's actually the game which I talked about. Here I decided to go for a charge move, I think, which I kind of regret then, I guess. I don't know, we will find out. But those are like the learning experience. You kind of have to play for a team for a little bit longer. The opponent was able to catch a Sableye and I didn't even see it, like catch on the Sableye and I didn't even see it, so great play by them. But again, like this is like the thing that you kind of have to start like recognizing, seeing how to play some things different. And I feel like my opponent makes a great play there. Of course they're gonna get hard countered now by my Carbink, and I take this one as well. Maybe I could have even just went for the full farm down. Actually, yeah, I should have went for the... never mind. They're going to have a Registeel on the back. I'm still in a fairly decent position here, I think, because I'm going to be able to allow my Medicham later on, so I'm going to be fine there. I decide to swap out into my Dragonair, getting the opponent's Dragonair out of the way. And like this, I'm going to be able to win the game. But again, the opponent makes a great play. They just didn't have the right team comp at the end of the day. And also, losing Switch is just very, very difficult for those kind of teams where you have Dragonair in the lead. So you kind of want to do everything possible to definitely guarantee yourself some Switch advantage. So again, I would recommend you to just try to farm them all the way down. Maybe there's some kind of bulk or breakpoint that you can get with your Shadow Dragonair, which could be helpful in the mirror. I'm not sure about it, but definitely something decent. But to every team, there's also going to be some hard counter lines. Here we're going to have Registeel in the lead. Honestly, I misplayed this a little bit as well, because I was looking at the calculations at the same time as well, because I always kind of wanted to see what do I do against a Registeel. And I thought Focus Blast did less damage. It might be just my AVs. I don't know, maybe I just was not able to really calculate that right or whatever. I thought I would still be able to survive one and still get to another charge move, but turns out I don't. They're going to have the Lickitung in the back, and I'm mostly show swapped out already at this point. But as you're going to see here, I'm going to swap out afterwards. They're going to go ahead and go for most likely a Power Whip, which I kind of don't want to get hit by, so I'm going to... No, I'm actually not going to use a shield. this was a mistake. I should have mostly used the shield here because Power Whip would be super effective, of course. So I decided to go for a Rock Slide, gonna get the knockout, and let's see what's going to be in the back. We're gonna see another Registeel. That's going to be okay for me. I can even reach my Rock Slide in time, allowing me to get the knockout, and we're gonna see in the back Medicham. And I know that they would have been able to farm me down at this point, and I don't think there was a reason for me to still play on. So I feel like, while the lead was just unfortunate, to be fair, like the lead was just unfortunate. You kind of got hardware there. I don't even need to really get excuses here for whatever. I feel like it was basically an unwinnable game. There was just not really anything I can do. If you have a Steel type in the lead, especially Registeel, you can still play it out for a little bit, but it's a little bit tricky, of course, against those. But still, again, this team went 3 to 5 times in a row, so I feel like it's a very stable team, and I feel like also in a lot of games, I don't know if they're in there, I had a lot of unlucky matchups, so definitely a solid team, but I feel like you kind of want to at least learn a little bit how this team works before you really want to judge it, because it's not as easy all the time, especially just you need to know how to play around with your Dragonair. Like, if you know all the calculations for your Dragonair, you're going to be golden, but if you don't, like, it's just basically learning by doing. Here we're gonna see the Pelipper gonna get farmed down by our Carbink, which I feel is fairly decent for us. We should be able to, I can just let it go through actually, like shield advantage for our Dragonair should be fine. They have a Lantern in the back and this game is over. This is the cool thing about Dragonair right now. There are a lot of grass types, which I barely really encounter. I had one Superior so far, and a lot of Lantern currently around in the Open Great League meta. So what we're going to be able to do here is we're just going to be able to win those matchups, as well as against Gligar. You're going to have super effective Awkward here. There's a match where I played against the Gligar and I went for the wrong move because I think they caught it or whatever, and I didn't really pay too much attention. Hopefully, maybe it's this game, I don't know. But even against the Lickitung, you're going to be able to realign your Pokemon, which is really important for it as well. So you can just go for a Body Slam. Body Slam is, by the way, in neutral scenarios better than Awkward here. Body Slam, I think, is 60 damage. I think it's 60 damage, while Awkward Tail is 50 damage, so definitely the Body Slam is the way to go. Body Slam gonna get the shield here. Don't know if this was necessary by me to swap out. Let's see if that's going to backfire. We're gonna get out the Gligar. I guess maybe this was a matchup against the Gligar. It doesn't really backfire too much because I can still go for one Ice Punch here. And it's not the worst, but they're going to be able to farm me all the way down, so maybe it does backfire. But Gligar is a little bit of a tricky Pokemon for this team for sure. We're going to be able to go ahead, and I think I have to go into my Carbink actually, because yeah, the Gligar is just a very tricky one to deal with. We're gonna see the Dig coming through. I try to swap out here. I can swap out. The opponent decides to go for an Aerial Ace, which does make a lot of sense, but we're still gonna get them low enough that we can farm down later on, most likely. They swap into the Lickitung. I'm still forced to go for an Awkward Tail, which is fine. Like, Awkward Tail and Body Slam take the same amount of energy, but here we're gonna see the Carbink in the back, and as my Carbink is already low, there was no reason for me to play on. Next opponent, Great Deed Force. We're going to have the Lantern here, and honestly, I think I misplayed this a little bit. I decided to go ahead and use a shield here for don't know which reason, but we're going to be able to go for a Body Slam here. At least this is going to work out well for us. Body Slam not going to get the knockout, but we can still go for another one and get the knockout now, allowing us to align our Pokemon as well as we... Never mind, we're going to get the shield here. They can go for a Thunderbolt, doesn't knock me out, so there was no reason to shield the first one, to be fair. They will never be able to align, but they decide to swap out into their Talonflame, allowing us to go into our Carbink, and Carbink is just literally living this matchup here. We're going to be able to go for the full farm down. They barely touched us, and we're going to be able to get some Rock Slide damage off against the opponent's Venusaur, putting them around half health here, as well as they're going to be forced to throw a charge move against me. Perfect counting by the opponent, so congrats on that one, but I can just let this move go through. I'm still going to have my Dragonair, which is going to be able to go for a full farm down actually, which I didn't even know, and just wins the game. Yeah, goodbye there. Like, opponents were not predicting the Dragonair. Against a Nidoqueen, something that I kind of learned here is that you're going to be able to get to 2 Awkward Tails in a zero shield scenario, so you're going to always be able to get a shield advantage here as well. No, never mind, in the one shield scenario, I mean. So you're always going to be able to always get the shield advantage either like in the 0 or in the 2, or like in the one shield scenario here, allowing you to get to another Awkward here. So it's always going to be a positive one for you. Now you're going to have the advantage, and the opponent decides to swap into the Mandibuzz. And here I finally play something right. I decide to get a ton of energy onto my Medicham first before swapping out, because Mandibuzz is completely horrible against Carbink. Carbink completely hardwalls this Pokemon. And as we're going to see here, this is going to be a little bit of a longer matchup, but we can just go for a full farm down, trying to get as much energy as possible. I should never throw here, but maybe I do. Like, sometimes I'm just impatient, but I think I actually don't do it here, which is great. So we're gonna see the opponent gonna go for Dark Bolts. I can try to go for the full farm down, and yes, I actually go for it. That's amazing. In comes most likely, okay, actually the Nidoqueen. This is only a poison jab, or like poison fang here, which I know because it was only 6. And we're gonna see the opponent having the Sableye in the back. And Ice Punch is still doing more damage against Sableye. I think at least. I think it does like basically the same amount of damage as Dynamic Punch. But Dynamic Punch is also, I think Dynamic Punch actually does more damage, but Ice Punch does more damage per energy. I think if you only get to 1, I think Dynamic Punch is actually a little bit better, but I'm not sure about it. Doesn't really matter anyway. As we're going to be able to just go for 2 Rock Slides to finish up this game. Definitely a solid team. Of course, top 4 in the world is a great achievement here. So congrats to them. Of course, link in the description as always. And I hope I see you in the next video. And also, click on the video here on the screen. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.